Hi, my name is Shawn Lingo, and today I'm going to be showing you how to replace a Labyrinth Seal and clean out your motor shaft if there's corrosion or other substances inside of it. First thing you're going to want to do is start with a T-handle, and you're going to want to remove your rotor bolt. That way you can remove the rotor to access the motor shaft. Rotor bolt. Rotor is removed. I'm going to actually clean out the motor before I remove the Labyrinth Seal so that I don't get too much debris back inside of the tool. You're going to have a piece of Scotch-Brite, and then you're going to need to most likely cut it in half to get to a proper size. And then you will take your controller and set it into a manual mode or a motor feedback mode. If you have a 101, or if you have a slick device, you'll go to manual mode, and then you will go to motor tack. And then what you'll do next is you'll take your Scotch-Brite pad and roll it up as best as possible to where you can fit it inside of the motor shaft. And then you'll go to your controller and you'll set the RPMs to around 500. And then while the motor's spinning, you'll insert your Scotch-Brite pad into it, apply pressure, and move it in and out. And you'll repeat this process until all the corrosion or other substances are gone from the motor shaft. Stop the controller, or stop the motor from moving with the controller. Inspect to make sure that the shaft is clean. And this shaft is now clean and ready to move on to the next step. The next step that you're going to want to do is, because you're going to want to clean this out and get all the debris out of the QD shaft and out of the motor, especially if you're going to end up changing the Labyrinth Seal. You're going to remove the center seal, which should just slide out of the middle of the Labyrinth Seal. If you're going to replace it, you're going to want to wipe it down and clean it with some IPA and a lint-free wipe. To make sure all residue and debris are gone from the center seal. Next step, if you're replacing the Labyrinth Seal too, is to get an Allen wrench, which would be a 9/64. And then you're going to remove the front part of the Labyrinth Seal. Sometimes they can be a little difficult to remove and be stuck together. So you may need to take an Allen wrench or some other object and try to wedge it apart from the middle. So now the Labyrinth Seal face is removed. If you're going to reuse this, like I said, you're going to want to probably disassemble this and take apart the outer ring and the front part and wipe those down as well, unless you have a new one that you're going to install. Depending on your Labyrinth Seal, it can come in one of two ways, to where it has screws in the back part of it that hold the back plate on, and also it'll have shorter screws in the front that hold the front plate on. This is a different style than some, to where it has long screws that go all the way through that hold it all together. So this particular Labyrinth Seal only has one set of screws. Next, you're going to want to pull out the middle of the seal. It should just pull out of the seal. You might need to break the bond a little bit from the way it's held to the rubber piece so you don't rip it. And then you can pull that out into the bowl. At this time, I'm going to shut off the N2 because there's actually N2 blowing through it. And I'll disconnect the barb fitting on the Labyrinth Seal. I'm also wiping out extra debris that fell in the bowl from me using the Scotch-Brite. You can also run a process after you're done to help clean out and rinse the extra debris out of the bowl also. I would recommend maybe running a long rinse to make sure that you get all of that debris out of the bowl before you start running product. Next step I would go into your controller and go into manual mode. Set the motor back to 500 RPMs. And I haven't removed the back yet just because I don't want the cam to be loose at all while I do this part, so I can get the motor up to RPMs to clean it out. So you can take Q-tips or also clean room wipes like this, get them wet with alcohol, and insert that into the motor to clean out any extra residue that was left in there from Scotch-Brite in it. Just kind of hold it in there for a second and wipe it out till you get all the debris out of the motor. You see that black stuff came out of the end of the motor from the metal in the Scotch-Brite. You're going to repeat this a couple times just to make sure you get most of that out of there. All right, looks pretty good. Next step you're going to want to do just to make sure you have all the extra debris out of there is you're going to want to remove your quick disconnect shaft from the inside of the motor the rotor bolt actually attaches to. So what you'll need for that is a crescent wrench and also a 3/4 inch wrench that you need for the back of the tool. You use this on the jam nut that holds the QD shaft in place, and then you're going to use your crescent wrench to hold the end of the shaft in place while you loosen it, which is located on the rear of the tool. So you'll put your crescent wrench on the square part of the end of the shaft and hold that in place while you use the wrench to loosen the nut. Then once the nut is loose, you're going to push the QD shaft forward into the tool. And you're going to inspect the shaft to make sure it's clean. And then you're going to take a piece of clean room wipe that is soaked in alcohol. Get a new fresh one for this. Get it wet with alcohol and then wipe down the shaft. You can also use a Q-tip or spray a little bit of alcohol into the shaft on the end where the threads are to wipe out and make sure you get all the debris out of the end of the shaft. I want to rinse it a couple times just to make sure. Make Make sure nothing's flowing out of there when you're rinsing it out like that, and then kind of dry it out and wipe out any extra debris you see inside there. And then once you see nothing else inside there, you can reinstall the shaft. Next step is you can tighten down the jam nut in the shaft. And turn the air back on. So I can have the rotor go back up to so I can have the shaft go back up to a 12 o'clock position. If you don't loosen the cam and you loosen the shaft, the motor should stay in place. Then you repeat the same steps to put it back together. Use your crescent wrench on the square part of the shaft. And then you use your 3/4 inch wrench to tighten the jam nut down. All right, so next step is you're going to want to make sure that you have your metal elbow installed at the top of the Labyrinth Seal. And then you can take that and install it onto the tube inside of the bowl that supplies air to the Labyrinth Seal. And then you're going to stick it with the elbow up towards the top, and you're going to stick it in behind the rubber seal on the back, the bowl seal. And then you're going to work the bowl seal all the way around until it sits on that front face of it that pinches in between the two layers of the Labyrinth Seal. So you're going to want to push that rubber layer until it sits flat on this little groove right here so that the front part of the seal can pinch the seal in between. So you kind of work it all the way around until it sits flat. Make sure that you can see the holes in the back. You have 2 sets of screws in this Labyrinth Seal. Two different lengths. You want to take the longer of the two and put it in the back so that'll attach this seal to the motor. Do not tighten those screws down yet all the way. All right, next you're going to want to insert the center seal alignment tool. Okay, make sure that's firmly in the middle. That'll line your seal up so that you can install the center seal. You want to tighten these up evenly all the way around so it doesn't get misaligned off to the side. All right. All right, all 3 of those are tight. Now you can pull out the alignment tool and install your center seal. That should just slide in like that. Should spin smoothly. The next step you're going to want to do is install the front of your seal, the front plate, and there should be, you're going to want to install the 3 Teflon O-rings that hold that seal the front plate with for the little screws that go in the front. They're very tiny little Teflon O-rings, and you can just insert them into the holes like that. Once all three of them are in place, you can align this over the front of the seal with the holes in the back. And then you can start installing the 3 smaller screws that go on the front. You're going to want to install those evenly too, so that the seal goes into place flat. Otherwise, it won't seal properly. Next step is you're going to want to reinstall the Teflon ring that goes on the front of the Labyrinth Seal. Turn your controller back on. Wait for it to actuate the RSP. Okay, it looks like it's still at 12 o'clock. And then your next step is you can reinstall your rotor. And then reinstall your QD bolts. And then you're ready to start running wafers again. Thank you very much. If you have any other questions, you can check out our other tutorials, or please give us a call. We also have a tutorial online for aligning the rotor if your rotor becomes misaligned while you're doing this process.